Thousands and thousands of football fans are flooding in here to the NFL draft experience. Again, that's right outside Lambeau Field. You can see there's mostly green and gold for the most part. Of course, we are in Green Bay, but the needles in a haystack too with all these other football fans coming out. We talked to people who came from across the country just for this. So there's lots of stuff to do here today. We just walked in and it's magical. It's magical. This is a dream come true for a lot of these fans too, especially coming in here. We actually spoke to one fan who grew up in Green Bay. She was a cheerleader for the Packers, and I'll let you guess who she married and what team they root for, Carl.
I was going to go NFL player, Steph, but now I'm thinking I'm wrong if you're saying another team. Who was it? How do you end up not marrying a Packers fan if you're a Green Bay cheerleader?
A Bears fan.
What?
So it's
No,
a house
come
divided. House divided, but they're sticking together, house united. So this is big full circle moment for her, coming back to her hometown and having the draft here alongside her Bears fan husband. But go figure.
That is amazing. Yeah, I guess she's gotten to rub it in over the last decade or 20 years or so, I'd say, of that rivalry at least. That's the good news there. Take us there, Steph. So if people are watching, they're thinking about going up maybe later today or maybe Friday and Saturday as the draft continues for this 3-day weekend. What do you get to do? Because it's not just standing there and watching the selections come in tonight, but I know there's a whole sort of player appearances and autographs and this whole draft experience. What all does it entail?
Oh, yeah. So much more than that. In fact, there's a variety of things to do. Immersive festival featuring high jump challenges. There's a 40-yard dash. There's Hall of Fame exhibits. Fans can also meet some NFL legends, some NFL stars, including Packer players, which is absolutely a dream for some. There's a whole host of things. There's flag drills, skill challenges, football clinics. There's bars, there's food. You see that beer hall over there. Titletown, they're giving you the full experience here. Food. Oh, and we got a birthday. It's your birthday? So, oh my gosh. Yeah, and then of course you get to see all the fans and what kind of crazy outfits, who's got the coolest outfit here. So that's another experience alongside
I think that Super Seahawk may take the cake there, as you just got a clip of that. That's incredible. Here's the other cool thing that we've kind of talked about this week too. Unlike a Packers game day up there in Titletown, where it's all Packers versus whoever that opponent is, you get all of the teams, all of the fan bases, but it's generally, I would imagine, pretty positive, right? They're not competing against each other. They're all looking for a future player. It's all about kind of hope and optimism this weekend.
Oh my gosh, no, totally, because we haven't seen any necessarily rivalries. In fact, we were kind of looking earlier before all these fans came into the experience.
There you go behind you, actually, Steph. Sorry to interrupt, but Packer and Bear fans buying drinks together and smiling. So this is great. You don't see this on a fall Sunday.
Yes, I see that. Should we? Oh, part of me wants to run over there and see. Look at that's all about. It's all about community, united. We actually, Carl, do you mind? We're gonna run over there.
Yeah, heck yeah, go for it. This is the Wisconsin Live Desk. We do what we want, Steph.
This is the Live Desk. We're walking and talking. Hi, guys. I'm sorry. We are actually live on the Wisconsin Live Desk right now. I see Packers. I see Bears. You guys are buying a beer together? That's community.
We all went to high school together. Yeah. Bigfoot High School, baby.
So you guys are from Chicago then, I assume?
Nope, from
Lake
Walworth.
Geneva.
Yeah, Walworth area.
Okay.
This is our 25 years of getting together for the draft.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, what's it like having it so close to home then?
It's wonderful. This is a bucket list item of ours, and we decided we couldn't miss this. So
you guys are all from Lake Geneva then, correct?
yeah.
How did you decide Packers? How did you decide Bears?
Well, my grandpa was a Bear fan, so I became a Bear fan. That's what happened with me.
I'm a Walter Payton fan, so growing up, the '85 Bears were the best, and Payton was the best, so that's why I'm a Payton fan.
Love it, love it. How about you, Packers?
Just a fan of a winning team, you know? Just being honest.
Sorry, what's all your guys' names?
Eric?
Eric?
Jake.
Matt.
Okay,
Yeah.
Eric, Jake, and Matt,
Yes.
thank you so much for
Hey,
your
thank you
time.
guys.
Do you guys sense any sort of rivalry going on here with all these different, fans of different teams?
It's fun to see all this. Yeah. I've been
Everybody
counting the
united.
jerseys.
It's
I think
a good
it's a
time.
friendly rivalry. Everybody's like out to have a good time at least, so it's fun.
I love it. It's like I was saying earlier, it's a house divided and united. I'm going to be saying that all day. Thank you guys for your time. Enjoy your beer.
Go Packers.
I grew up in Illinois actually, and I'm a Packers fan. So my parents were. Yeah, sorry. I'm just. It's the
I love it.
Live Desk.
You're getting into it. Steph, that's great though.
So, yeah,
whether it's
one
Lake
example.
Geneva, whether it's you out in, I think it was Rockford, right, for the hometown, you end up in that border territory. You never know which way it's going to go. But there you go. Perfect example. I imagine, Steph, you guys are going to be people watching all day long. This is fantastic.
Oh my gosh, absolutely, Carl, and we'll be back with even more fun stories to share and more. I'm sorry, I keep looking off because I just keep seeing some crazy outfits that it's hard. There's a guy dressed up like the Grinch.
Well, maybe we're going to check in with you a little bit later on the live desk, too. I know you've got some other live responsibilities as well. Maybe we can task you with that. Find us the best outfit of the day so far up there in Titletown.
Carl, we will do that and we will check back in.
Either that or you have to race your photographer, Eddie, in a 40-yard dash if you make your way over there, too.
He's doing a thumbs down.
All right. This is the fun of the draft. Steph Quirk and Eddie Poser behind the camera there. We'll let you get back to it. Thank you guys for joining us here.
Thanks, guys.
Oh man, that is fantastic. So getting an example of just what the next 3 days are going to hold for us here in the great state of Wisconsin. The entire football world has descended on Green Bay. For the executives, it can be pretty stressful. Which players do you select? Do you pull off a trade? Anything like that? But for the fans, it is very much a party, and that party has definitely begun over there in Titletown. Pretty fun stuff, and we're just getting started here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Another live shot of the stage where the Tennessee Titans have the #1 pick tonight. The Packers supposed to select 23rd overall. That is if they don't hold the trade. And then back here, another live picture from Milwaukee, where our studio is a little closer to Fiserv Forum. It's not just an NFL takeover this weekend. Here in Milwaukee, the Bucks play Friday and Sunday, needing wins to get the series even against the Indiana Pacers. Visit Milwaukee. We've done a lot with them leading up to the draft. It is a Green Bay hosted event, but the entire state of Wisconsin benefits. And the tourism folks down here in Milwaukee hoping, hey, maybe these football fans will stick around, or you'll check out the draft rounds in Green Bay and then make it down to the Deer District for Game 4. It would be on Sunday after that. We shall see. Whole lot of fun here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, and we are just getting started. We're going to take a quick break and then see what we find for you on the other side.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. Carl Deffenbaugh hanging out with you here on this Thursday afternoon, 12:41. We're going to get back up to Titletown a little bit later over this next 50 minutes or so that we're with you, bringing you some of the sights and scenes from day one of the NFL Draft, really just ramping up. And here's the good news as well. In the weather department, we'll pop up the friendly graphics from our folks back there in the weather office. You're seeing relatively clear. There is a chance of some rain, although today is looking pretty good, all things considered. And then I just spoke with one of our weather experts, Stephanie Barrichello, previously on FOX 6 News at 11. She said even tomorrow there's some rain in the state for Friday, but it's more so in the morning. So we're hoping for rounds 2 and 3 of the draft in Green Bay. You'll mostly be clear for that. Of course, there are evening events. Saturday is the all-day affair, rounds 4 through 7 up there in Green Bay with the concert from Brad Paisley to wrap everything up on Saturday evening. That also looks great. Saturday is the best day of the weekend weather-wise if you're planning a trip up to the draft. The best part, it is free. You need to register and have the NFL One Pass app, but the actual event, the NFL Draft Experience, is free. Then it's just whatever you want to spend when it comes to beer, water, food, a taste of Wisconsin, maybe some gear and some swag to remember the experience by. But for the most part, pretty great event to get up to Green Bay and soak in the atmosphere there for the NFL Draft, this biggest event of the NFL offseason. We're going to take you on a whip around now, some of the other things that we're monitoring here at 1242 on the Wisconsin Live Desk. We can take you around the world from this booth, kind of a closet here at the studio, but that's okay. First and foremost, the processions continue next to the body of Pope Francis. This is another live look at the Vatican here on this Thursday afternoon. Of course, it's evening now in the Vatican in Italy, and you're giving a live look there inside St. Peter's Basilica. This has been a steady stream of both Catholics who want to pay their respects, people who want to honor the man who died at the age of 88 early Monday morning after a long battle with a number of different diseases, served as Pope for about 12 years or so after first being installed and chosen back in 2013. And we will continue to monitor this feed for you ahead of the funeral that is planned for Pope Francis Saturday, with world leaders coming in from all across the globe, including President Trump will be a part of that on Saturday at the Vatican. And then something else that as soon as it begins, we will monitor. You're seeing a lineup of podiums here. I believe people are doing what's called a white balance in our TV business, making sure the color is clear, the mics are working. This is coming to you after a breaking news announcement this morning, actually. The Illinois man who was charged with fatally shooting 7 people, wounding dozens of others during the 4th of July parade in 2022 in Highland Park, has pleaded guilty to this and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The plea had happened already, but today was the sentencing for the man who did shoot and kill 7 people and wound dozens of others during that 4th of July parade. The Lake County judge in this case handed down 7 consecutive sentences of life in prison. That was what the prosecutors had requested for the first-degree murder charges that the man faced. This was also after hearing emotional testimony from some of the survivors as well as relatives of those killed on that horrible day almost 3 years ago now. The man, Robert Cremo, who is age 24, sentenced to 50 years on each of the 48 counts of attempted murder as well, and those would be served consecutively to the 7 life sentences. So he is going away for the rest of his life after one of the worst days in Illinois state history, going back to July 4th of 2022. When someone steps to the podium, I believe we're expecting potentially some of the victims or victims' families, as well as the prosecutors in this case. We will take you there live. That's Waukegan, Illinois, where the Lake County Judge Victoria Rossetti handed down those life sentences without the possibility of parole to the shooter in the Highland Park 4th of July shooting. And in the meantime, we're also following this for you. I got word from our producer in the booth, Delaney Reed, on what exactly this was. Delaney, do you mind reminding me? Because we're seeing some construction behind you, but that's not exactly what we're watching here.
No, hey Carl, this is out of South Carolina. on a money laundering case.
Interesting. All right. Not familiar with that, but let's listen in, see what we can learn as this has just popped up into our feeds here on the Wisconsin Live Desk.
This idea of adding conditions or strings to the disaster aid. Thankfully, some of the first people to have spoken up against that notion, besides me, are Senators Scott from Florida or Senator Tillis from North Carolina, other red states, frankly, that have been through hurricanes, fires, other types of natural disasters. We have never conditioned aid based on politics and the history of our country, and we shouldn't start now. Second, and I apologize for being a little technical here, but I think it's worth explaining. Whenever we're going to keep fighting for the aid that California needs, period, at every opportunity. And the way it'll work, nowhere in a spending bill, supplemental or otherwise, will there be a line item and a check for Los Angeles for wildfire recovery. The way it works is Congress and the President will fund FEMA, will fund the Army Corps of Engineers, will fund SBA, fund departments and agencies that respond and assist with all disasters. In California, in the Carolinas, I mean, just a month ago or so, there was more than 100 fires in Texas, Oklahoma, elsewhere in the region. We're now experiencing disasters in New Jersey. Red states and blue states alike tap into these funds. These accounts will be replenished, hopefully sooner rather than later.
As we get a little bit of information for you on who exactly you're listening to right now, this is the acting U.S. Attorney, Brooke Andrews, who's holding this press conference today. Indictment on trade-based money laundering, a case that has ties into Charleston, Richland, Sumter, and York counties in South Carolina. And as you're hearing, also ties into disaster relief funding, apparently. So let's get some more of the answers here as we're seeing some of the wildfire risks, some of the other work being done. The acting U.S. Attorney, Brooke Andrews, and others hosting this press conference today.
I'd rather have him go slow and safe than, yeah. Well, at first I hear about the reservoir, but I think what I'll say is this. And I find myself explaining sort of what's happening here in Southern California to colleagues and friends in Northern California, certainly colleagues in Washington, D.C., who saw the request of $40 billion come in and say, wow, this is a big number. And what I explain to them is, like, first of all, most people who have seen the images of the fires and the impact in January on television appreciate the intensity of the fires, right? The homes that were burned, the cars that were charred, the businesses that have been lost. What's difficult to appreciate unless you've seen it for yourself is the scale of these fires. For my friends in the East Coast, what burned in the month of January here in Los Angeles County was approximately 4 times the size of Manhattan. When I put it
Just want to apologize. We had a little bit of some mixed messaging here. This was supposed to be a feed from Columbia, South Carolina. It's actually coming to us, as you just heard a little bit there, from the entire other side of the country, the West Coast, and some of the wildfire cleanup and rebuilding happening in Los Angeles County. So we're going to get some more information on what exactly this is. Don't want to have anything wrong for you here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. In the meantime, we'll give you a live look at the White House in Washington, D.C. as well, because the other thing that we're waiting for is an Oval Office meeting between leaders from Norway and President Donald Trump. This is supposed to happen soon as the Prime Minister of Norway is in Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, today, meeting with the leader of the U.S. and many other officials in the administration. Once that begins from the Oval Office, we'll try to get you a little piece of that as well, while we also keep an eye on things up in Green Bay. That is a live look at the draft stage there. The first round of the NFL draft finally here, something the Packers and their outgoing president, Mark Murphy, hoped to land going back 9-10 years ago, as the NFL started moving their draft out of Radio City Music Hall in New York and taking it as a road show to different fan bases and different markets all around the country. Mark Murphy and the Packers wanted to host. It took years to convince the league they could do it, and it is here. So that is the good news for all of us throughout the state of Wisconsin, getting to welcome the football world to Titletown starting tonight, the first round. And some of the excitement that you'll see, the Tennessee Titans, of course, #1 pick tonight, followed by the Cleveland Browns, the New York Giants, the Patriots, and the Jaguars, rounding out the top 5. Anything could happen after that first round pick. The Tennessee Titans had potentially listened to trade offers, but said that they will not be trading that #1 pick, likely taking a quarterback, and likely that would be Cam Ward, is where a lot of the draft prognosticators think they're going to go with that. By the time the Green Bay Packers get on the clock, their hometown pick is number 23 right now. Who knows what could happen before that, whether it's trades ahead of them, trades of that actual pick, or the players that will remain on the board and available to the Packers by the time number 23 rolls around in tonight's first round. All of that gets started tonight. It's 7 p.m. Central Time here in Wisconsin, the first round of the NFL Draft. But as we saw from Stephanie Quirk, and we'll check in with her a little bit later as well, the action has very much already started here in Wisconsin, as plenty of football fans, most of them Packers, but from fan bases of all around the country, are in Titletown, ready to cheer on their pick, maybe boo their pick, which is something of a tradition for the New York Jets and other fan bases. We'll see where they end up as we check in. All right, we want to get you back out answering some questions. I mentioned what we were trying to find some information about. So this turns out this is from California. This is Senator Alex Padilla touring the Pacific Palisades area of Los Angeles County after the wildfires that came through. I believe he is answering in Spanish now to some of the Telemundo stations out there right now. But, of course, devastating and deadly wildfires that torched their way through Los Angeles County. Officials are continuing with the rebuilding, also, as you're seeing in that sign, trying to reduce the wildfire risk for communities as well. And Senator Padilla just finished that press conference that he was hosting there outside of what looks like a home construction site behind him in the Pacific Palisades neighborhood of Los Angeles County, now answering some questions in Spanish as well. We're going to take a quick break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. A lot more to get to, including the saga of that abandoned boat along the shoreline of Lake Michigan here in Milwaukee. Yesterday, we brought it to you, the salvage efforts live here on the Live Desk. We thought we would be doing that today as well, but there's been a bit of a change. We'll try to explain that to you on the other side of this break.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Good afternoon, Carl Defenbaugh here with you on the Wisconsin Live Desk. It is 12:56 as we approach the 1 o'clock hour here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. We will get you back to Green Bay, try to get you to Milwaukee's lakefront for the saga of this abandoned boat as well. But something that just popped up in our feeds, and this is the beauty of the Live Desk. Once it happens, we'll take you there in the moment, is what's happening inside of the White House. I mentioned President Donald Trump meeting with the Prime Minister of Norway. Those two gentlemen are in the Oval Office right now. Let me make sure that we can get the audio for you, and we will listen in to what the Commander-in-Chief and the Prime Minister of Norway have to say in this joint meeting in Washington, D.C.
Over the years, the United States has been very good to a lot of people, and it's time for us to benefit also. So we're going to have a good relationship on trade, and we discussed other things also. But Mr. Prime Minister, it's an honor to have you at the White House. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. This year is 200 years since the first immigration from Norway to the U.S. We come here early in your term. Appreciate that you take time. We have highlighted that very close cooperation. We are allies. We look after security in the north, in the Arctic. A lot of confidence between our services. We have discussed in detail the war in Ukraine. I have saluted the President for his initiative to make progress towards something that can be a ceasefire and an end to this terrible conflict. It is a complex picture, but it needs political will and push, and we have exchanged ideas on that. And then I think the President and his team have been open to hear our perspectives. And on trade, we have also emphasized that we can benefit, both of us, by trading. We can be complementary, and we can find good solutions. But first of all, I appreciate, Mr. President, the spirit and the tone of this conversation, which has been confirmation of a very strong partnership.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Any questions?
Can I ask you
Yes.
first, Mr. President, have you spoken?
Well, we're hearing a little bit there from those two world leaders in explaining their long-standing partnership between the two countries. This also just popped up into our feed. I mentioned the sentence handed down for the shooter in the Highland Park Independence Day shooting in Illinois. Prosecutors and victims' families have stepped to the podium now. We want to make sure we get that because that is breaking news this morning. Robert Cremo sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
I don't even think that word is really adequate to describe the impact that this case has had. I want to emphasize that each one of them has their own journey. Each one of them has their own story, and they may not have even been, people may not have been in the courtroom today who were deeply impacted by this brutal and heinous crime. But I would ask people to remember that that story is individualized, that that journey is individualized, and we need to treat that with respect, potentially not summarizing all of their experiences or their emotions, because it is vast and it is different, and it covers hundreds of people. I'd like to say a few things that I really haven't said as much publicly in light of the pending nature of the case. The bravery that we saw today and yesterday in the courtroom from the victims, survivors, and the community, as we think about the unbelievable professionalism of law enforcement in both capturing this suspect, in investigating this case, and in bringing us the evidence we needed to make sure that we got justice. That bravery, that professionalism, and that courage stands in stark contrast not only to the cowardly and heinous acts of this offender, but also the fact that for all of his months and weeks of planning, he has never shown one bit of remorse. He did not show any remorse through the court proceedings. He did not show remorse when he was being interviewed by law enforcement. I didn't comment as much on that today during the sentencing because I think it was important that we stay focused on the evidence and on what the victims and survivors were going through. But the defendant was not in the courtroom today. He, in fact, absenced himself many times from these proceedings, and it is clear that he was unable to confront what he had done. And when we think about the unbelievable unifying aspect that this had for a lot of people, maybe not for everyone, but when we think about people coming together and running towards the danger and maybe confronting their worst fears, thinking about a child being hurt, thinking about their own children dying. 7 people lost their lives, but this community kept going. And there has always been strength in this community and from this group of victims and survivors, no matter how that strength is shown. And that stands in such contrast to what the offender did. Aside from emphasizing the importance of the victims and survivors today, I want to take another extra moment to thank law enforcement. As I've already said, they ran towards the danger. We heard from Commander Jerry Cameron of the Highland Park Police Department about rifle teams. Again, not something I commented as much on while the case was pending. The offender had not been caught at that point. They were literally in the shadow of the roof where this had happened, and they wouldn't have known that at the time. They were out there to protect the people and the community of Highland Park. Not only did that happen, but we also had the amazing work of the law enforcement professionals from the FBI, from the Lake County Major Crimes Task Force. Brian Bodden and Maureen Mazzola are standing behind me, and they interviewed this offender. And this offender explained exactly what he did, how long he had planned it for, and that he was aware of what damage he would do. If this offender had an inch or a centimeter, he would have gone to trial. That's what I think. But because of the amazing work of law enforcement, because of that interrogation, and because of the evidence that was gathered, whether it was DNA, whether it was trajectory evidence, whether it was video evidence, whether it was witness evidence, law enforcement made sure that he didn't have one chance of winning a trial. And I think that that effort has to be mentioned at this point. As I said, our office will continue to support the victims and survivors. I'll answer some questions after the mayor speaks. Thank you. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Nancy Rodering, the mayor of the city of Highland Park. As the state's attorney noted, I also have a statement, and then we'll be happy to answer your questions. Today, a chapter has closed on our community's journey, but no verdict or sentence can erase the pain or the lasting impact of this horrific act. As we listen to the powerful voices of those whose lives were forever changed, those who had unbelievably awful and profound losses, loved ones taken too soon, the sense of safety that was shattered, and the futures that were forever altered. Thank you so much to Lake County State's Attorney Eric Reinhardt and his incredible team for their partnership and their tireless pursuit of justice. Our heartfelt appreciation also goes to the first responders, our amazing law enforcement officers, the community emergency response team, and the medical professionals who've shown extraordinary dedication and served with compassion and professionalism throughout this entire process. While the legal proceedings have concluded, our work continues. We will always, always stand with the survivors, the families, and all in our community who carry the weight of this tragedy. Our support remains steadfast, and we will never forget. This sentencing does not mark the end of our efforts. It strengthens our resolve to push for meaningful change. It is yet another opportunity for a call to action as we continue to plead with our nation's leaders.
Fun talking to the mayor yesterday. That was the first.
Yeah.
We've had to get the mayor's office in.
We stand united in remembrance and in our shared commitment to building a safer future. We are Highland Park.
I'd also like to take a moment also to thank the trial team. I said that more when we got the plea, but our trial team, the office's trial team, and the victim specialists have been outstanding, and the entire office and really the entire Lake County community has never missed the opportunity to rise to the occasion. This was an awful occasion, but people did rise to that, and I want to make sure that we thank the men and women of the Lake County State's Attorney's Office, whether they were trial attorneys, victim specialists, investigators, or support personnel. Everybody came together to make sure that we got justice in the courtroom today. Yes, I'll do some questions. Yes.
Yeah, could you discuss the decision of presenting so much evidence in court, with the victims there and with the defendant not there?
Yeah. I can't talk with my hands. Thank you. All right, so first of all, the victim impact statements, I'm not going to call them evidence. That's what we heard after the close of evidence. The victim impact statements were very powerful. That's when a victim and a survivor is able to talk about what affected them. You may have noticed that there was not cross-examination of those individuals. The beginning of the sentencing proceeding started with evidence, with live testimony from Jerry Cameron, other law enforcement, FBI Special Agent Recca, as well as Dana Reuter-Rudering, and other individuals that were there to set the scene for the judge. It is always appropriate for the court to understand the circumstances of an offense, because one of the things that the court is considering is the amount of planning. One of the things that the court is considering is the amount of terror, frankly, that this brought to the people of Highland Park. So when Jerry Cameron, for example, talks about people being horrified as they sheltered in the Potbellies or in the Gearhead, that was important for the court to understand the amount of terror that just those people felt. Obviously, it was felt throughout all of Highland Park and beyond that day, but that's why we did so much evidence. We thought it was important for the court to see this. Obviously, we focus extensively on the interview. The interview shows who this offender is in the hours after the attack. So that was very important that the court see what his demeanor was, see how professional law enforcement was, so that there was always an understanding by the court that this was a very well done investigation and that she truly was seeing the truth about this offender. And that truth is that he planned this brutal attack for a very long time.
As the questions continue there for the state's attorney after the life sentence without the possibility of parole handed down for the shooter in the Highland Park Independence Day shooting of 2022, we're going to take a short break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, covering a variety of topics, of course, including the President of the United States visiting with the Prime Minister of Norway in the Oval Office. On the lighter side of things, the NFL Draft, round 1 tonight with the Tennessee Titans up first when the draft begins at 7 o'clock Eastern here in Wisconsin. And more of the saga of that abandoned boat along the shores of Lake Michigan. We thought maybe it was going to be cleared out today. This is the man who leads the salvage unit trying to remove that boat covered in graffiti from the lakeshore. We'll check in later to get some updates on why that work will not happen today. All of it coming to you still over the next 23 minutes or so of today's Wisconsin Live Desk.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Carl Defenbaugh rejoining you here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, 110, and we have a lot more to get you. I mentioned that shot that we had momentarily of the guy, Jerry Geyer, who leads this salvage unit trying to remove this abandoned boat, Deep Thought, from the Milwaukee lakeshore. We saw some of the salvage efforts yesterday. He's doing an interview right now. That's that live feed with our reporter, Christina Van Zelst. But we can tell you the work was supposed to continue today. That was the initial plan. The boat maybe even removed from Milwaukee's lakefront as soon as today. But Jerry Geyer has told our Christina Van Zelst that instead that will likely happen as soon as Monday now. Mother Nature not exactly complying. His crews can't get to the challenging places they need to both clear out and lighten that boat and then be able to pull it off from the lakeshore and finally get it to a salvage area, one of the salvage yards that he runs here in the Milwaukee area. It's a challenging thing, although we've had some fun with what that boat has become in terms of a landmark for Milwaukee to some degree. People have been stopping by. They held a kind of tongue-in-cheek candlelit vigil there near the boat yesterday. While that continues, and we'll let Christina do her work continuing that interview with Jerry Geyer, we want to get you back to the White House as well, following a number of different things on this Thursday afternoon, including a visit from the Prime Minister of Norway there in the middle with President Donald Trump and other officials as well. Let's listen in live to this continued briefing from the Oval Office. The President of the United States, the Prime Minister of Norway, all speaking right now here on the Wisconsin Live Desk.
And therefore I'm proud that Norway has actually tripled the military support to Ukraine. And this year we will allocate close to $8 billion to Ukraine. That will strengthen them and also their hand on the negotiating table.
I may add to that, if there's a peace, and there will be a peace, we have a common responsibility in securing democratic Ukraine for the future. And the best security guarantee they can have is the ability to defend themselves. And we are investing in that.
Mr. Prime Minister,
Mr. President, as it relates to tariffs, Mr. President, when you unveiled your reciprocal tariffs on April the 2nd, the tariff rate for Norway was 15%. Based upon your conversations that you've had today with the Prime Minister, do you see that tariff rate coming down from what you proposed just a few weeks ago?
Well, they have a great fund of $2 trillion. It's a big fund. And they don't have any debt. So I think they'd probably be willing to pay us more than that, I hope.
Are the two nations in agreement?
Mr. President,
Yes.
in 2018, your former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo called for an end to Russian occupation of Crimea. Why has this administration changed its stance on territorial concessions for Crimea?
Well, the war started. It would have never started if I were president. This is a war that is horrible. All wars are horrible. This one is in particular bad. And I don't know that you can ever say there's going to be a winner to this because so many lives have been lost. Not only soldiers, I mean, a lot of lives have been lost. I think that we want to do one very simple thing. It would have never happened if I were president. Zero chance it was going to, and it didn't. People say, how do you know that? Number one, it didn't happen. We never even discussed it. I would talk to Putin about it. It was the apple of his eye. Ukraine was the apple of Putin's eye, but there was never even a thought that he'd go in. And I think he understood that I would not be happy if he did. And it was only when I got out, and when you mention what happened to Ukraine years ago under President Obama and a vice president that was also president later, unfortunately for this country, what happened is large chunks of land were given up, and it was called Crimea, and that was a big thing. That was a big moment. But this isn't my war. This is Biden's war. This is a war that Biden was president when this war happened. But I'm trying to put out the fire, and I think we'll be successful. And if we do, we're going to save a lot of lives. Otherwise, and the Prime Minister had a statement. He said, "This is just a point in time. We're very lucky because this is a point. And if this doesn't happen, this could go on for a long time."
Mr. President, will you have meetings with other world leaders when you're in Rome, sir?
Future Democrat president?
I don't think he will. I think he wants to make peace. I think he wants to end it, and I feel pretty confident of that. But we're gonna know pretty soon.
Mr. President, will you have meetings with other world leaders when you're in Rome?
Yes, I will.
Which leaders do you want to meet, sir?
Well, I'd like to meet them all. That would be nice. I'd like to take care of all of them, but we have many of them there, and they all want to meet. They want to meet about trade. And we are making some great inroads and great deals. You might want to speak about that, Mr. Secretary.
We had a very successful bilateral meeting with the Republic of South Korea today. We may be moving faster than I thought, and we will be talking technical terms as early as next week, as we reach an agreement on understanding as soon as next week. So South Koreans came early. They came with their A game, and we will see if they follow through on that.
President Trump, you're rounding up your first 100 days.
Do you think you deserve the Nobel Peace Prize if you manage to create
Do
peace?
I deserve the Nobel Peace?
If you manage to create peace.
Well, maybe for the Abraham Accords. I don't want to get ahead of myself on this one, but they say for the Abraham Accords, and by the way, speaking of that, we're going to be filling it up. A lot of countries want to come into the Abraham Accords. You know, we have 4, and Biden did nothing on that one, too. It's the same 4. But they're great countries, and they were brave doing it, and it's worked out very well. And we're going to be filling up the Abraham Accords. They're going to be, I think, filling it up very rapidly. Martha,
Mr. President,
could you say something about that?
There's great, enormous opportunity to grow the Abraham Accords. But I would just point to one thing. Of all the leaders in the world today, no leader is working harder to prevent wars or end them than President Trump is right now. That's why we're talking to Iran. That's why we're engaged with Ukraine and Russia. It's the desire to prevent these wars from breaking out and to end the ones that exist already. And again, I just think it's tremendous for our country to be led by a president who desires to bring peace and establish peace and protect peace. So it's hard work.
Mr. President,
You know, Marco just mentioned something that maybe we should talk about for just a second, if we could, Mr. Prime Minister. And you're involved in it, too, because you've been involved in the world and peace. But I think we're doing very well with respect to Iran, and we're having very serious meetings. And there are only 2 options, and the one option is not a good option. It's not a good option at all. And I think we're doing very well on an agreement with Iran, but that one, we're doing a lot of things, I will say, but that one is well on its way. We could have a very, very good decision, and a lot of lives will be saved.
Mr. President, on the economy, there was a slowdown. Mr. President, on the economy, there was a slowdown as it relates to home sales in the month of March, the slowest pace since 2009. Is that an economic indicator, and perhaps the Treasury Secretary can weigh in on this as well, is that an economic indicator that concerns you about the broader U.S. economy?
No, they had very good numbers on housing today, extremely good numbers, and that's despite interest rates, because, you know, if you look at what happened, everyone said, oh, I said I was going to get prices down. I did. Energy just hit $1.98 in a couple of states. It's way down. Energy's down, and we're about $64 a barrel. When I came in, and we were looking at $89, $90, $95. And by the way, that helps us solve the war, too.
As the president continues taking questions from reporters there in the Oval Office, along with the Prime Minister of Norway and other officials from both of those leadership groups, you hear the 2 big topics, certainly tariffs and the question of whether or not the administration would lower tariff rates against Norway specifically as discussions with other countries continue, and the war in Ukraine, Russia's invasion of Ukraine that started back in 2022. Europe and European allies have been strong proponents of Ukraine and have continued to support, while the Trump administration has been trying to work out a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine that so far has not led to even a stoppage in the fighting in that country. We're going to take a short break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, but as we go to break, another live feed we're tracking for you here. This is a helicopter from station WSVN in Miami. 7 News Miami is above the scene of a warehouse shooting. According to their website right now, the suspect in this Southwest Miami-Dade warehouse shooting is dead, according to their station's sources. All of this started about 1 p.m. local time in southeastern Florida as this shooting at a warehouse injured at least 4 people reportedly shot. The extent of those injuries not known at this time, but the suspect in that warehouse shooting is dead, according to 7 News Miami in that southern tip of Florida. With that, a quick break on the Wisconsin Live Desk, and we'll be back after this.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk. This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Get hit that twice there. So this is the Wisconsin Live Desk. Yes, Carl Defma joining you from our Milwaukee studios while we are, of course, keeping tabs on things up in Titletown. We are going to try to wrap up this hour on the Live Desk the way we started, with some fun in the NFL's smallest market. The NFL Draft has arrived. The first round is tonight. Let's get back to our intrepid reporter, Stephanie Quirk, who is out and about for us all over Titletown, apparently. Steph, when we last saw you, you were on ground level. That is quite the perspective you have now. Where did you end up now?
You can see this is just a beautiful view of everything going on here. All the people here exploring Titletown, the NFL Draft experience right outside Lambeau Field. We're up high now, so you can see this full view here just to kind of take in all these people. Lots of green and gold, obviously, but a mix of colors, because there's people from all over the country coming in here to Green Bay. We're standing on the hill. There's kids rolling down the hill, which I am just dying at. So fun. We're having fun here. We saw a 40-yard dash, some of the many experiences that fans can get here, and people of all ages. It's been so fun so far. You know, I always thought about my first experience coming out here to Lambeau and Green Bay. I'll tell you, this beats any of my expectations.
Well, this is the first many of us are getting when it comes to the draft. We're not used to seeing a Titletown like this in the off-season, certainly. And that district, of course, when it's frozen tundra weather in Green Bay during the actual football season there, that's a sledding hill that you're standing on. Instead, now it's apparently a rolling hill. Okay, we tasked you with finding some of the best outfits over the last hour or so since we last checked in with you. Yes. What have you seen, whether it's from Packers fans or any of the other fan bases that have descended on Green Bay?
Oh my gosh, we saw it was a Chiefs fan, Kansas City Chiefs fan actually, who he had a cap on. It was like a mask almost. It was a giant ring. It was a champion. It was a Super Bowl champion ring. Huh? Hulk Hogan outfit. Sorry. Photojournalist Eddie Poser has been with me all day. He actually ran up the hill with all the equipment. Wow. So let's give a quick shout out to him because he is a strong man today. But he said Hulk Hogan outfit we saw. I'm staring at somebody right now, actually. Eddie, if you want to pan over there. That is quite a fit, too.
You're speaking my language, Steph. Okay, we're all from somewhere. I'm actually a Denver Broncos fan, so those are my people hanging out, descending on Green Bay. Yeah. Okay, Eddie found something else for you. What is the Green Bay cape there and like a goat or something at the end of that platform?
Oh my gosh! See, Carl, you're like my second set of eyes here. I guess. I wish they would turn around.
Yeah.
It looks like some sort of almost like a. I don't know.
That's one of those things where I have no idea what I would see when that person turns around, but it would be something, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm just waiting to lock eyes.
Steph, about just what this footprint looks like, because one of the things that we heard from the league officials too is that this is the first time that they've been able to involve the actual NFL stadium like this into the draft experience. Usually they've been in a part of a city. I think they were in downtown Detroit last year, or, of course in New York City at one of the major venues there. But they're actually incorporating Lambeau Field, and fans, a pretty rare opportunity, can actually get to go out in the stadium on the field during this weekend too.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see that experience, as you mentioned, obviously. Small kind of town feel, obviously. So when seeing these thousands of people coming packing in on the outside of it, it's like a footprint surrounding this Lambeau Field here, and obviously with the stage actually inside. But just this experience for fans going in and being able to see what it looks like on inside. You can see there's fans actually heading in right now. On the outside, I'll also mention that there's fans tailgating, as is tradition with a lot of these houses surrounding Lambeau Field. They're renting out their lawns for people to park. They're tailgating. They'll give you food. So it feels like a game day, although I've never been to a game day. It feels like a game day with a big twist in a way.
Yeah, I can see that. One of my other questions, the logistics of how we're doing so far, right? We knew this was going to be a big showcase for Green Bay and for the state. Can we pull this off here? The NFL used to being into much bigger cities for its draft, of course. How do things seem like they're going so far? We still have, I'm doing the quick math here, I believe just about 5.5 hours until the first round actually begins. I'm sure Saturday is going to be really busy with a whole day of draft picks being announced on the weekend there. But how does it seem like it's going? Was it trouble getting in for you? Anything you've heard from fans about parking and getting inside the fan experience? Anything like that?
You know, for the most part, right as they opened the doors, we saw it kind of flooding in. As for us in the media, it was pretty easy getting in. Obviously, they have security and all that, but the lines were forming, obviously, even before noon when the doors opened here. We haven't heard anyone having super, big troubles with getting in. I will say parking, it's packed, which as many people would assume, but a lot of the people we talk to are actually, they're just coming for the day. I asked if they're spending the night, hotels and things like that. Some people have booked hotels, which, a couple people are doing that, but a lot of people coming for the day. They probably say parking was the biggest challenge for them, but once they got in, everything was kind of going smoothly. So that's good news.
Yeah, we like the sound of that, that's for sure. Okay, we're going to let you send us off here on the Wisconsin Live Desk today. Sounds like your photographer, Eddie, is the one that needs to be in the NFL Combine next year doing hill sprints with camera gear. But how are you going to end our Wisconsin Live Desk hour live from Titletown, Steph? What do you have in store?
I am going to end it with an absolute bang, you guys. I don't want to hit any kids, but I'm gonna head down there because I'm gonna go grab a water, and I gotta run down this way. So I'm gonna put the mic down, and I'm going to end this in the fashion. Make sure I don't hit anyone. Here we go.
This is Stephanie Quirk, reporter extraordinaire, the queen of the Wisconsin Live Desk, doing a hill roll for us. Yes, go, Steph, go. But look out for the planks. Looks like she's on a bit of an angle there. All right. She did it, ladies and gentlemen. And that kid there, showing them how it's done. I love it. Oh, man. Just a little taste of the fun you can have there at the draft in Green Bay. Photographer Eddie Poser, if you can hear me behind the camera, are you next? We have about 30 seconds. Are you taking the camera down the hill?
Should I do the super roll?
He's going. Go, Eddie, go!
Let's go, Eddie, too. All right, I think they're having a little too much fun up there at the top of the sledding hill for the Wisconsin Live Desk. But hey, you never know what's going to happen. That's the beauty of this. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for checking out the content from Titletown. The NFL Draft starts at 7 p.m. tonight, and we will be back with you tomorrow at 12:30.
With the first pick in the 2025 NFL Draft,
the wait in Wisconsin is almost over.
the NFL selects Green Bay, Wisconsin